I told you I was going to tell you a story that's connected to a little bit of a sermon this evening. So, in the early 1900s, there was a rabbi who moved to Jerusalem. This is way before the state of Israel even becomes a state. But he moves to Israel in the early 1900s, and he moves from Lithuania in Europe. And he arrives in Jerusalem, and he becomes one of the most well-respected rabbis of Jerusalem. He goes out and he visits the sick. At that time, the British were imprisoning many young Jews who were trying to force the state of Israel to come to reality. And he would go to the British prison and he would visit the prisoners, the Jewish prisoners. And he would do all of these things that you would expect of a rabbi. But everybody loved this guy. He was so respected and loved. His name was Rabbi Aria Levin. And he was called the Tzadik of Jerusalem, the righteous one of Jerusalem. And everybody loved him, and I told you that he was well respected. But there was one thing that he loved more than anything in the whole wide world. Anyone have a guess what you think it was? You're right. Shabbat was the one thing he loved more than anything else in the world. Thank you, Harold. So he loved Shabbat. And he wanted to create in this community that he lived in, this very beautiful neighborhood that many of us have probably been to. It's right outside of Machane Yehuda, the Shuk today. And he wanted everything to stop. He wanted everybody to observe Shabbat in this community because it was so special to him. He wanted the roads to be quiet, and he especially wanted all the shops to be closed on Shabbat. And so he went on a little bit of a campaign, talking to all the shop owners, please close your store on Friday evening through all of Shabbat on Saturday so that we can have this beautiful, beautiful day of Shabbat and we can all enjoy in the beauty together. And every shop owner in this town, in this neighborhood, said, great, except one. Said, you know what, Rabbi? I'm not closing my shop. And every week he would go and he would ask him, and the shop owner said no. So finally, on this one Friday night, the rabbi gets dressed to go to shul, starts walking out of his home, and instead of turning left to go to the synagogue, the rabbi turned right. And people are wondering, where's the rabbi going instead of going to shul on Friday evening to welcome in Shabbat? And he turns right, and he walks up, and he goes into the one shop owner who didn't close his shop. And he goes in, he says, Shabbat Shalom to the shop owner. The shop owner says back to Rabbi Levin, Shabbat Shalom. And he says, can I have a seat? And the shop owner gets him a stool, and the rabbi sits on the stool in his shop during all of what would be Kabbalat Shabbat. He sits there for an hour and a half. He doesn't say one word. And all during this time, he sees people coming in, buying food, buying the newspaper, all sorts of different things you would buy for your home. And after the hour and a half gets up, the rabbi gets up, Shabbat Shalom, and goes home and enjoys Shabbat dinner with his family. The shop owner's like, that's weird. Why'd the rabbi come to my shop that's open on Shabbat and be there and he doesn't say a word? So the shop owner on Sunday morning goes to the rabbi's house, knocks on his door, and says, I was pleased that you decided to spend Shabbat with me, but that was weird, you didn't say a word. Why? And so the rabbi says, come on in, and he sits down, and he sits at the living room. And the rabbi says to him, I decided to come to your shop because I've been asking you to close your shop on Shabbat. And I decided I needed to see what it was like for you and why you kept saying no. And so I sat there and I realized I've been asking you to do this, but for you to close your shop on Shabbat would mean you would give up on a lot of income, a lot of money that you bring in from all of those people who come in and shop on Friday night. and Saturday, and I'm no longer going to ask you to close your store on Shabbat. The shopkeeper leaves. The week goes by. Friday night, the rabbi goes to shul, as would be planned. And who does he see at shul? The shopkeeper. He goes up to the rabbi and he says, I am now closing my shop on Shabbat moving forward. I share this story with you, one, because I love Shabbat, and that's why we're here tonight. But I share it because how many of you started school this past week? How many of you are starting school this coming week? How many of you have somebody new in your class? How many of us adults have somebody new at work? Or perhaps somebody new here tonight that we don't know? And I think this story is amazing because we jump to conclusions. The rabbi thought he knew why this person wouldn't close his shop, and he judged him. And he could only begin to understand what it was like for him until he went and he sat in his shop and saw the world from his shoes. And I think about the world we live in today, how quick we judge other people. We think we know why they do something or why they act the way they do. And what if we paused and began to ask the question, why? And get to know somebody. And think about the world we would create, just like when this shop owner stopped thinking he was being asked to do something without somebody understanding. When there was an understanding, when there was getting to know people, that community, every shop was closed, and they had the beauty that we know of the holiness of Shabbat. And I think that can apply to the exact same idea to each of our relationships, those new classmates, those new people at work, and everyone we meet along our way. Shabbat Shalom.